back now. Passports and all the ship's papers?
Yes, I have everything ready.
That's incense? Oh, that's incense holder. I thought it was as ornaments too. An ornament too?
Yes,
Oh, I thought it was. You want to come?
And our island is very beautiful.
It
So
sure
welcome
is.
you all.
It sure is a pretty island.
Yes, ma'am.
Trinidad all today. Why don't we head back to the boat? Call it a day.
No, we probably should. You must be thirsty though. Why don't we stop in here for something cold to drink, all right?
Oh, all right. That's a good idea.
Okay.
I come from the valley of the shadow, from the mountain of the drum. I come as an axe to a bending tree to relate to you my awesome genealogy. For I am descended from a long line of musical instrumentation. I have seen the accessions of kings and kingdoms, and the destruction of tyranny and monarchy. For I am the steel drum, and I make steelpan music. Now stop. For that glint in your eye tells me that you are an erudite scholar who would like, in his curiosity, to explore my empire of musical excellence. I, the Pied Piper of steelpan music. There is nothing in the world like Trinidad steelpan music. Come, follow me. Hey.
Yeah, I'm tired. I want to get back.
Wait, hold on just a minute. This would be really interesting. And you know I'm crazy about music. Well, let's just go see what's going on, just for a few minutes.
You will never be sorry. Permit me to introduce myself. When I am not under the guise of the Pied Piper of Steel Band, the Phantom Pan Man, I am called Brian.
My name is Ed. This is my wife, Linda.
Ashanti.
Pleased to meet you, Brian.
Come with me. You will not be sorry.
Ed, I can't believe this. Here we are in Trinidad, following a man down the street who thinks he's a drum.
I know. But you know, Lynn, when we decided to take on the cruising life, we were looking for adventure, and I have a feeling this might be it.
I believe you're right.
Oh, it's kind of warm this morning, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you hear Brian say last night that I could get into playing the pan, possibly into a steel band?
Yes, I did, but you retired to relax and get away from schedules. Do you really think you want to get involved in something like that again? If you get involved in a steel band, it's going to be schedules again. Do you really want to do that?
Well, problem is, you know, I've always been an amateur musician, a long time, and I kind of miss it. And here in a steel band, there was just something about it that appealed to me.
Well, do you really think you'll take him up on the offer?
Well, I've been thinking about it. I tell you what, I think I might just do that if you will be willing to come along with me.
Well, I'll give it a try. I'd like to do some more sightseeing.
Battery and film just as they finished, both at the same time.
Good morning.
Your name is Ricardo, right?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good. I remember from the other night, you're a section leader in the band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Section leader of the tenor section.
Right.
How are you going?
Good, very good. What does the band have planned for the near future?
Well, there's the music festival coming up, and the band already have a head start, but you can join and probably you can get there, you know?
So I'm starting a little bit behind, huh?
Yeah, just a little behind time, but it's there, you can do it.
Well, I'll give it my best.
There are a few instruments here, probably, if I show you around, probably you can make up your mind on which one you would like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
Alright, over here we have the basses, pans, you know. This is the cello pan, or the mid-range pan.
Okay.
The double tenor. And finally the tenor, which I am the section leader.
I like the sound of this. This is the one I might like to try to learn to play.
People in our area, you know, because they were not working, they used to come around by the pan yards and hang out, like what we're doing here right now, right? As a result, they started to play pan, and these and pan, the pans, they were really in the depressed areas. Good. The depressed in Woodbrook formed invaders because they realized that tenement here, you know what I mean? Although they had big rich people around, but the poor people formed the band.
They had a lot of the players that live in what they call a backyard. Here was a type
barracks?
of
Tenement.
Yeah, a lot of
Tenement, you know?
Like a tenement.
90% of the steel band players are unemployed.
Yeah.
Because steel band is a dedication,
Yes, it is.
you know, as you realize.
To be good.
Right.
I fall in this band around in 1956, 57. At the time I was a little guy. There was a band that I all time like. For instance, the name, you know, Invaders, you know, around that time people light a fan to see things now, you know. And if you notice, the bands, the top bands, they get the name from like movies that they go to see. For instance, like Desperados, Casablanca, Renegades. Right now, we are getting ready to go into the music festival, and
In my head, I know the test piece, but it doesn't always get down onto the sticks.
Like, hey, Brian, it's good to see you not dressed like a drum today. Which is
You made it.
Really pleased about that, Brian. But tell me a little more about this festival. It sounds pretty important to me.
Well, next month is the National Steel Bands Music Festival. We call it Pan is Beautiful. Now, it's where the very best bands in Trinidad and Tobago compete every 2 years for $40,000. And that means a lot to the bands. The last time Invaders made it to the finals was in 1960.
Brian, I'd like to get a pan so I can practice on the boat. Where can I buy one? How are they made?
One question at a time. They make them out of discarded oil drums. They sing the pan. Each pan maker sings them to his own measurements. No two tuners make the exact same pan. Each of the notes is outlined. Now, this prevents the vibrations from one note transferring to the other notes. He punches up the notes to the approximate depth. Pan is fired to burn off any old paint or oil, and the temper improves its tonal quality. They preserve the pan by chroming it, and that prevents the pan from rusting. Pan making is the tuning. The tuner begins to turn this piece of industrial waste, rubbish, into a musical instrument. It takes years to become a good tuner.
Something you start to feel to it, besides hitting the note, you just hearing. There's also a feel which is hard to explain.
It's all finished. It's just pan. Sweet pan.
I didn't realize how complicated that process was. Now I know for sure I want to get my own pan. Festival is coming real quickly, and I need the practice time.
Well, you will have to go down to the only pan store in the world, Lincoln Enterprises.
But I'm not sure what type. Can you show me a little bit?
Sure, I can show you the types of pan we have. Right now we have basically tenor pan, seconds, guitar pan, cellos. Tenor pan is really an instrument that carries the lead tune. It has it's comprised of 28 to 31 notes.
Need a pair of sticks?
You need a pair of tenor sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem. And the guitar pan, all right? As you see, the rubber is much more thicker than the tenor because the note is much bigger. And it needs something a little heavier to bring out.
Well, Brian, there it is. I guess I'm going to be spending a lot of time with that for the next few weeks.
You ever play music before?
Yeah, I have, but I've never seen an instrument before where the notes were arranged in a circle. I did have a small band when I was in college and played a little jazz, too.
So you like jazz?
Yeah, it's my favorite form of music.
Well, you must see the Pan Jazz Festival. You can't miss Clive Zander.
I was always interested in rhythm, and most of my melodies came from the rhythm as the sort of motivative. I thought that rhythm rules the world. Rhythm was the energy center. My first exposure to the steel pan was around that time, and that was way back in 55, 56, you know? And I started playing the tenor pan then. But then I saw the pan, I related the pan as a percussion instrument because I used to like to hit it in my hands. So I'm trying to compose the music that will have the essence of the indigenous culture and cultures. Trinidad is a multi-ethnic society, and I think it's so nice if one could reflect all those colors and sound into the music. I'm very conscious of structure and form, even though I may be free, but within the form of the structure, I am free and flexible. Caribbean music still has that exotic flavor, which I think is something you don't get rid of because it's part of the lifestyle, and it's easier to reach because the jazz experience in the States, New York, is a different experience. It's city, it's bigger, it's aeroplane, it's technology, it's a
That's it there.
You remember what I said about the 40,000 that a band could win in the festival?
Yes, I do.
Well, the band really needs it. I mean, really needs it.
You're looking at about, from scratch, I'll say about $250,000. Yeah, you got to pay the tuner. Tuner takes a lot of money. Every time this band go out and to perform, they got to blend the whole band, and they take money.
Most of the big bands have sponsors. Without them, they probably won't be playing. Now, Nicky Innes is one sponsor who really understands the problems of band because he used to play.
The steel band is just as legitimate a vehicle for the promotion or the advancement of corporate objectives as any other medium, whether it be television or radio or what have you. From a corporation standpoint, you live in the community, the products you make and the people you hire are from the community, and you have a larger responsibility to the community than just giving them, you know, value for money. What would you rather have? 100 kids, 100 young people on the block, unstructured, in an arena where they could do what they want, and very often sometimes do what they want? Or would you have them in a disciplined arena of a steel barnyard? Everybody is working with a firm purpose of playing the best music that they possibly can. Everybody wants to succeed, right? It's a really beautiful thing. I mean, you know, and I often wonder, why is it in the wider community we don't recognize, you know, what a blessing that we have in that, and put more into it than we do at present.
There's more musical talent per square foot on this island than any other place I've been. Where does it all come from?
They start early.
Well, I play the tenor most of the time, but mommy put me on the guitar.
G, F, E, D. Again.
Well, I started playing the cello since I was about 7 years old. Cello pan.
How old are you now, Leo?
Well, I'm 18 years old.
And how long have you been playing pan?
Roughly 6 years.
6 years, so you started at about age 12.
Yeah.
And when they taught you to play pan in the pan yard or the pan theater?
Well, more or less I taught myself, when you go to the pan theaters, you just have to look at how they play. They don't really teach you. And that's how I learned.
They show you the position of the notes rather than naming the notes, right?
Well, probably in others, but the one I went to, you just had to look and pick up for yourself.
Right. Did they have the notes labeled, written on the pan?
I look at pan right now. I'd like to be like the high fits of pan, you know. Take pan in its classical form, classical music wise, not really in the jazz idiom, but classical music wise as a soloist with a symphony orchestra. The piece I'm going to perform is the final movements of my own composition, A Visit to Hell, which I won the solo category with.
dying to see this. No. At no time do his hands ever leave his wrists. That's for sure.
You have to meet Oscar Pyle and Jerry Bisson.
Okay.
Oscar Pyle, he has been involved in steel band from its inception, and Jerry Bisson has written a number of books on history.
Jerry, is there anything you can tell me about the early West African experience in Trinidad?
Yes, in fact, I can. The French population that came to Trinidad was, say, 6,000 or 8,000 white people and about 10,000 or 12,000 free colored people. Both those peoples were slave owning. And these are the people who came to Trinidad from 1783 to about 1800. The problem that the British had with freeing the slaves was the extent to which the freed slaves would begin to merge into the colored intelligentsia and the colored middle class and assimilate into what they would perceive as foreignness. Now, what is significant about the free coloreds of the 18th and 19th century in Trinidad is how wealthy they were. They came to Trinidad with slaves. There were significant landowners. There were significant producers of sugarcane, cotton. There was a startling amount of them who held professions, who were doctors and lawyers. So the freeing of the slaves, insofar as the British was concerned, was that they were going to be faced with enlarged colored middle class that would be French-speaking, Catholic, and wealthy. They responded to that by doing the best they could to prescribe against forms that would continue to alienate these people from the British colonial system. And this is why the prescription against drums. What began to take place in the 1870s, 1880s is that the nature of British administration began to change. So what you began to see taking place in the colonies in the wake of the Indian Mutiny was a more rigid military structure coming into place. There was a period between the 1840s, 1850s and the 1880s when carnival was literally dying out with the creation of a new middle class who, although they might have been black and colored, were really committed to respectability. And carnival was a very disreputable thing. The young generation of Trinidadians, as I suppose young people anywhere in the world, reacted to it. I think that there's a basic underlying point of view that should be mentioned, and it has to do with the necessity for people who, finding themselves in an alien situation, the necessity that they feel to create a God that they could understand in their own image, to create musical forms, in other words, to create realities to which they could relate so that they could live.
Mr. Pyle, who was the person who actually invented steel pan?
By coincidence. By a coincidence. It just happened. And I could go further to tell you that anyone who trying to claim he had invented the steel band out of context, no one person could take claim that they invented the pan. Because during the period of 1935 was still bamboo. During the carnival period, they used to play. Right? And within a coincidence, during that time, The guys from Gonzales used to be beating the bamboo band. And at the same time, in the yard that they was practicing was a yard they used to call Tantiville yard. It had an old chassis, car chassis there. And while they beating the bamboo, a guy used to be knocking the chassis with that song. And by a coincidence, on a Boxing Day, one of the guys beating the bamboo split. And in the heat of this rhythm, he wanted something to beat. Tootie Wilson was his name, the Wilson brothers. And he just dashed around the corner, looking for something to, the rhythm in him, and he wanted something to buy. He picked up a pain pan, and he started beating this pain pan. The others hearing this song, more melodious than the bamboo pounding on the streets. They all discard them, and they all run to, who could have get dustbins, take dustbins, who could have get old utensils, take utensils, and there and then, that was the dustbin barn. It wasn't steel barn. The name steel barn wasn't given to it. It was the dustbin barns. But the typical West Indian is a copycat. A group of fellows only want to hear something and see something. And every man, from east, west, north, and south, just disregard bamboo and went to pan. Because, of course, there were poor fellows in a ghetto. They couldn't buy drums in those days. So anybody who has a wash tub or a drum used to steal the drum. You understand? So eventually, this set a revolution for this new invention of the steel pan. Biscuit drums. In those days, we had the biscuit company. They lost a lot of biscuit drums. So eventually, they then dropped off from the pain pan, dropped off from the biscuit drums, and eventually they went full-fledged into the 45-gallon drums, oil drums, because war had declared in 1939. So Trinidad had its last carnival. Then a construction battalion came from the United States to build a base down at Chagaramas. And of course, the country was poor. And the American came into the country and money started spinning. Prostitution was rampant. When the government had proclaimed the proclamation, no carnival from 1940, this didn't stop the steel band, man. There and then, that made the steel band develop more. They hadn't the chance then to parade the streets as they liked. They then take for the bed of the river, the dry river, East Dry River, the dry river bed there. They then start beating the pan and playing the instrument on the bed of the river because they know the police is not coming there. In VJDB, victory over Japan, every steel band from all part of Trinidad and Tobago take to the streets. And it was, I can assure you, it was no more the pain pan. The band that took to the street was in full force with 45-gallon pans. As the prostitutes, as we may call them, was on the move, they also had a protector. He had been a person that connected to a steel band. Clashes start happening, riots. No, riot was only the steel band as such of people put in it. It was areas. And let us say, if she did belongs for the behind the bridge, or she did belongs to St. James, and she going out, and the only time they could really get at who they want within that period is Carnival.
You know, Jerry, since I spoke to you the last time, I've been wondering about something. Did a lot of the young boys want to play pan in the early days? And how did their parents react?
Now, you could imagine a family where she's a school teacher, she might even be a headmistress in a government school. You are a civil servant somewhere in the Ministry of Works or something like that. You have 4 or 5 children. One of them full of rhythm, and he going to beat pan. Going to beat pan with who? Going to beat pan with people who still living in the barrack yards, whose parents are not married to each other, whose husband was in jail until last week, whose mother is a whore. And that's what he going to do? Well, he'll tie him to the bed and cut his ass. Because what he's doing is that he's taking the family to hell. Yeah. That it has taken you 2 generations to leave all of that behind, and this idiot is going to go and do this. Well, you'll take him to the police station, which happened a lot, right? Which happened a lot.
And you write a calypso about it too.
Yeah, they take you to the police station, let the sergeant take you and put you in the cell for an evening, and that will cure your impulse to become a pan man.
So we wrote that one about
You see? So to become a pan man, to become a pan man in the 40s was a profound anti-social declaration.
That was interesting. What Jerry said is what a lot of other people are. And when I met Nick Innes, he told me how things had begun to change once middle-class kids became involved.
They arrested all the members of the band and carted our instruments off and took us down, and we had, you know, parents had to come and get their sons out of the cells. And subsequently, we brought an action against the police for, you know, for wrongful arrest, because we weren't doing anything wrong. And we won the action, and each of us, you know, all of the plaintiffs in the action at the time, the members of the band, I think we were awarded the, which was then the princely sum of about $400 each for damages.
Can we stand in the shade?
And after that, here's one you really enjoyed, about how women got into pan. Barbara Critchlow told me about that.
Come carnival, every time you wondered, you know, what really goes on in these pan yards. You wonder, but as a young girl growing up, you dare not ask your mother to go to the pan yard to see what was happening at night. And I'm telling you, if you could walk in to any place and after a performance and still feel the electricity and the energy and everything, you know, that it was still there and the performance was finished, you knew you missed something, and that this thing, you know, you would want to be part of it. And she gave me some notes of play, and that was the very first time I really made connection. It was for someone walking in. I certainly wasn't at the level that most of the other guys were in the band. I would have been slower. I had to learn the instrument, learn their system of music, the teaching of the music. Uncle Jim was writing the music on the board, so I had to adjust. You know, the captain called me this Sunday and said, well, we have to go and get measured. I said, measured? So yeah, you know, for uniform. And then Linda said, this is a very serious thing, you know, actually getting a uniform, so it means that you've done well. It's been a large training ground for the development of leadership skills, management skills, you know, things that would not crop up ordinarily in your everyday life or even in your office life. They were all there in the pan yard.
Mohammed, may I call you Amin? I'm really impressed by your band Exodus and admire it greatly. I'm confused by the different competition amongst the steel bands. Can you tell me more about them? For example, what about festival?
The festival is usually a test piece, a tune of choice, which invariably is a classical piece and a calypso.
And what about pan around the neck?
When steel bands were originally formed, one of the first forms of taking them around were to use this sort of straps around the neck, holding onto the pans, and they were sort of resting against your body, and you would walk along playing like that.
Amin, what is different about Panorama J?
The Panorama J is another small competition, and that one is for groups of 10 players and less. And they get into not only calypso music, but into jazz type arrangements and other types of music.
That's quite a range of musical types. And what about Panorama?
Panorama is the big one. Panorama is the one that is held at carnival time, really is involved with calypso music only. The bands go up to 120 players, which is the ceiling. And before ceiling was imposed, we had bands up to 200 players.
judges these musical events?
Generally, these people are all qualified musicians, and they are, in terms of the musical theory, not necessarily in steel band. They may be in piano, in choral orchestration and various things like that. But they start off sometimes being not too qualified in terms of the orchestration of steel band music. But as time goes on, the newer ones pick it up, and then they sort of build their own image and their own credibility.
That's quite a range of musical types. And what about festival?
The adjudicators for the festival, because of the heavy classical input, traditionally we have sought to bring adjudicators from overseas. And we've had adjudicators from England, we've had from the States, we've had from Canada.
While the adjudicator has played a very vital role in the steel band movement, not only as a judge per se, but the comments that adjudicators have made in the past, people who have been formally trained like me and who have also had some background in pan, have helped this information, this ability to be able to marry through things. This has helped the steel band men to improve on their performances, so that you are either accurate, you're either to the score or you're not to the score. You're either accurate in dynamics or you're not accurate in dynamics. And this is why I said it, this set of criteria has helped. What has happened is that the players themselves tend to feel that the quicker they go, it shows a certain dexterity. They are taking it for granted that the thing to do is to play quickly. But this is a fallacy.
When we first went to play with Invaders, we were little boys. I was about 13 years old, So when we went in to this yard now, you used to always hear about steel bandsmen. They were, at that time they were considered like outcasts in society, and so very unfortunate that they were considered like that. So it was a big thing when I went into Invaders. You had to see these people, these big men there. We were little boys, but we were in awe, So, but we settled in. They were very, very nice to us. They made us feel comfortable, and we enjoyed it a lot. When I was in my teens, it was always a fascination to me how people come up with melodies, and I always said this is what I would like to do, and I used to try on the pan, to do something, but it always sounded like what somebody else did, So I gave up after a while. I say no. This is impossible. I don't have it, And then somebody told me, no, keep on, and I kept on. And I wrote a song very early, when I was about 15 years old, they called it Ray. I didn't have a name for it, but they called it Ray Saga, and we recorded it. Actually, it sounded pretty okay, From then I just kept on and on, because the people who are going into competition, I think, those who are composing, I think they kind of breaking free from that, what should I say, stranglehold that the adjudicators have over them. You have to do this, you have to do that, sort of stereotype thing. I think that, well, I for one, I don't allow it to stifle my creativity. I try to produce music, and I hope it sounds good, but I'm not going to do it to fit what some judge thinks. I can't do that. And I think many other people who are composing, I don't think they're allowing themselves to be put into that little bottle. In the early days, I think it was good because it gave us a guide. We were very, our knowledge of music was very rudimentary, we were largely musically ignorant, and we were scratching around, in the early days. So it did play a part in improving our knowledge of music at that time, but I think that the pan musicians left the adjudicators behind a long time ago. That's just my idea of it.
That's what we 1, 2, 3. Well, let's go out and see what our competition looks like tonight, you know, and then we can go and listen to a band that calls New Wave. I know that's the kind of music you like to listen to.
Hey Ricardo, you got a minute?
Yeah, sure. I was just doing a few things here with the band and I have a minute.
Well, something I want to talk to you about. It's only a couple of days now to festival, right? And well, I've given a lot of thought. I've been doing my best working on the pan, practicing in the boat. But, well, I guess the bottom line is, I don't think I'm ready. Well, let
let me finish. I think that the festival is so important to the band that if I were the one to cause it to lose points, I'd never forgive myself. I just can't do that.
There's a couple of days still left. I feel if you try, you can make it.
And, you know, I'll keep trying, but I just don't think I'm ready.
Well, if that's the way you feel, I respect your views.
No shade for you.
54.25 Trinidad Invaders.